This video brings an urgent revelation that Jesus specifically wants you to hear. He has been trying to warn you about 3 women who are using your name for dangerous spiritual purposes, but he's concerned you might not recognize the signs. This isn't just another spiritual warning. It's about identity theft happening in the spiritual realm. Jesus cares deeply about your spiritual protection and would be heartbroken if you miss this critical revelation about what these women have been doing with your name. The message you're about to receive has been carefully arranged to reach you at this exact moment. Before more damage is done, there's a divine appointment happening right now as you watch. Don't scroll away, because what you're about to discover could finally explain the spiritual attacks you've been experiencing and protect your identity from further harm. This isn't ordinary spiritual warfare. It's a targeted attack on your spiritual identity by 3 specific women who have been using your name for dangerous purposes. Jesus has been watching these women with growing concern, noticing how their actions have been affecting your spiritual life. Missing this particular revelation could mean allowing continued spiritual harm to your reputation and blessings. This warning marks a limited time opportunity that's opening right now to break their power over your name. Jesus cares so deeply about your spiritual protection that he would be truly worried if you failed to recognize this spiritual manipulation. That's why this message found you today. Your attention to this video isn't random. It's a divinely planned moment designed to help you see spiritual attacks that have been happening around your name, but you might not have understood. Their source, the identity of these 3 women, will become clear as you recognize the signs Jesus is revealing. Every unexplained spiritual attack you've felt has been noticed by Jesus. Every blocked blessing that seemed to have no reason has been acknowledged. All the times you've wondered why your prayers felt hindered, yet continued to seek God anyway, have been honored by heaven. Your spiritual struggles with these mysterious obstacles haven't gone unnoticed. Those moments when it seemed like others were receiving breakthrough, but yours was being blocked. Jesus saw your confusion and frustration. The times when your faith felt under constant attack, yet you kept believing anyway. That persistence was recognized in heaven. The strength it took to keep trusting God when spiritual warfare felt overwhelming has been deeply valued. The questions you've carried about why certain areas of your life felt cursed or hindered have all been acknowledged by Jesus. Spiritual identity theft isn't always obvious, and the signs aren't always clear. Sometimes they require spiritual discernment to recognize. Jesus understands this challenge, which is why he's making this revelation about these 3 women so clear. You can't possibly miss it. The spiritual manipulation Jesus wants you to recognize appears in everyday situations, but is often overlooked because it seems like normal bad luck or spiritual opposition. This attack shows up in repeated patterns of blocked opportunities, hindered relationships, and spiritual heaviness that follows you despite your faithfulness. It appears in dreams where you feel spiritually attacked, in conversations where your name is mentioned negatively, or in situations where your reputation is questioned without reason. These signs connect to the specific spiritual struggles you've been experiencing that seem to have no clear source. Jesus has chosen this particular revelation because it speaks directly to the spiritual warfare you've been facing. The window to recognize which 3 women are using your name for dangerous purposes won't remain open forever. That's why Jesus is concerned you might miss this opportunity to break their power. When you finally see the signs, you'll understand why certain blessings have been delayed and why spiritual progress has felt so difficult lately. Their identities will become unmistakable through the patterns Jesus reveals. When you recognize this spiritual attack from these 3 women, many confusing aspects of your spiritual journey will suddenly make perfect sense. Unexplained spiritual opposition, blocked blessings, and hindered prayers will all connect in a beautiful moment of divine clarity about what's really been happening. Jesus has wonderful news for you today. Your spiritual discernment about warfare is growing stronger. An important breakthrough is becoming available to you now. The divine has noticed your faithfulness under attack, and now you've been chosen to receive this special revelation about your spiritual enemies. This moment marks something significant in your spiritual warfare journey. It's a clear indication that your spiritual sensitivity to attacks is growing stronger every day. Something incredibly meaningful is unfolding in your understanding of spiritual protection, far deeper than you might have imagined possible. The recognition of this attack begins a spiritual awakening that will touch every area of your life, from your prayer effectiveness to your blessing reception to your sense of divine authority over spiritual enemies. There's a wave of heavenly attention surrounding your spiritual protection right now. You're becoming more spiritually attuned to attacks, naturally drawing divine revelation about spiritual warfare into your daily experience. Recognizing these three women's actions against your name brings heightened awareness of Jesus' protection in even the smallest details of your spiritual life. More spiritual insights about warfare will begin flowing to you than ever before. This isn't happening by chance. It's a carefully arranged blessing designed specifically for this season of spiritual attack you've been experiencing. Your prayers for protection matter more than you realize. Your spiritual persistence under attack inspires heaven to reveal your enemies. Your faith makes a difference in the spiritual atmosphere around you. This divine revelation shows that Jesus deeply values your spiritual growth even while under attack. Each spiritual battle you've fought has developed your ability to recognize this warfare now. Jesus delights when you finally see the attacks. He's been trying to show you that the timing of this revelation is no coincidence. It comes now because you're spiritually ready to recognize and respond to these attacks. This precise moment has been divinely chosen because you've grown in faith and spiritual discernment about warfare. Your spiritual eyes are now open enough to see attacks that might have been invisible to you before. Your heart has been strengthened through spiritual battles. Your wisdom about spiritual warfare has deepened through experience under attack. Your soul is now prepared to receive this divine revelation about these three women more clearly than ever before. All the spiritual challenges you've faced have been preparation for recognizing this specific attack on your name. Nothing in your spiritual warfare journey has been wasted. Every battle has shaped your ability to recognize spiritual enemies when they're revealed. This particular revelation about these three women is connected to larger spiritual warfare happening in many believers' lives right now. Jesus is revealing similar attacks to those who are spiritually alert and ready to take authority. If you're feeling grateful for this divine revelation about these three women using your name, please consider sending a super thanks of $5, $10, $20, or more to support our channel's mission of sharing these important spiritual warfare messages. Your generosity helps these divine revelations reach those who desperately need to understand spiritual attacks. When you give, you participate in a sacred exchange that allows us to continue creating content that exposes spiritual enemies and protects believers from dangerous spiritual manipulation in these critical times. As you begin to recognize this attack from these three women, new spiritual authority will naturally develop in your life. This clearer vision brings new responsibilities, not just to protect yourself, but to help everyone God places in your path who might be facing similar spiritual identity theft. Don't view these responsibilities as burdens, but as sacred opportunities to participate in Jesus' work of spiritual warfare. This revelation signals it's time to step into spiritual maturity. As a warfare participant who can recognize and defeat spiritual enemies, finding balance becomes essential during this spiritually charged time. While taking authority over these three women's actions against your name Remember to nurture your practical faith through prayer, scripture, and spiritual community. These spiritual disciplines have shaped who you are and will continue to support you as you grow into this expanded role. Jesus is inviting you to become more than just a victim of spiritual attacks, but a person who helps others recognize and defeat their spiritual enemies too. As you become sensitive to this revelation about these three women, think about how you can help others who are missing similar attacks on their spiritual identity. Your experience shows that Jesus is constantly revealing spiritual enemies, even when we fail to recognize their actions against us. Heaven witnesses every moment of spiritual warfare awareness, every recognition of enemy patterns, and every choice to take authority over spiritual attacks. Your story of recognizing these three women brings hope to people feeling spiritually attacked or wondering if their struggles have spiritual sources. Your awareness becomes a light that helps others develop eyes to see the spiritual enemies Jesus is revealing all around them. This revelation about these three women isn't meant to be a private blessing. It's an invitation to help others experience the same spiritual clarity and authority. Jesus often works through those who have recently recognized spiritual attacks to help awaken others who are still missing their own spiritual enemies and the damage being done to their spiritual identity. As you navigate this new level of spiritual warfare awareness about these three women, stay consistently alert. Jesus reminds you that while recognizing one spiritual attack is wonderful, it's just the beginning of a lifetime of spiritual warfare victory. Maintain the spiritual sensitivity that allowed you to see this attack on your name in the first place. Guard against returning to spiritual naivety that made you miss important warfare signs in the past. Let your spiritual awareness continue to flow from genuine faith and daily attention to Jesus' guidance about spiritual enemies. With this new ability to recognize attacks on your identity comes ongoing responsibility to remain watchful for your spiritual protection. Use this gift wisely to discern true spiritual warfare from ordinary life challenges. Not every difficulty is a spiritual attack, but Jesus will make truly dangerous spiritual manipulation unmistakable. Embrace this journey of spiritual warfare with both humility and confidence, showing others that recognizing spiritual enemies comes from staying connected to Jesus daily through prayer and spiritual discernment. Picture a future where you consistently recognize spiritual attacks before they damage your identity. Imagine divine protection surrounding your name, spiritual authority arriving precisely when needed, and your understanding of warfare expanding beyond anything you've experienced before. Jesus stands with you, encouraging you to embrace this journey of spiritual warfare with complete trust. This is truly your moment to experience deeper divine connection through recognizing spiritual enemies like these three women. This marks the beginning of a time when your spiritual perception, wisdom, and authority will be more aligned with heaven than ever before. Accept this blessing with gratitude and remember that you're surrounded by divine support on this journey of spiritual warfare. The path ahead holds countless opportunities to experience Jesus' guidance through warfare, revelation that will become increasingly clear to your spiritually attuned eyes. What joy awaits as you learn to read the spiritual language of warfare and protection all around you. Your name will be divinely guarded from all spiritual manipulation. If this warfare message has awakened something in your spirit, please consider blessing our channel with a super thanks of $5, $10, $20, or whatever amount feels right to you. Your support creates a beautiful spiritual exchange and allows us to continue sharing these divine revelations about spiritual enemies with those who need them most. Your generosity helps fund our mission to help others recognize spiritual attacks in these dangerous times. If you're ready to acknowledge that you're seeing signs of these three women's actions, type 888 in the comments below as your declaration of spiritual warfare awareness. The journey of recognizing spiritual attacks against your identity continues beyond this revelation. As you step into new warfare awareness about these three women, stay grounded in Scripture and prayer that keeps your discernment sharp and accurate. Every spiritual enemy you recognize could be the exact revelation someone else has been waiting to see about their own spiritual battles. Your growing spiritual sensitivity serves as inspiration for others wondering if their struggles have spiritual sources today. Move forward with an attentive heart, a watchful mind, and a responsive spirit ready to take authority when spiritual attacks are revealed. Create opportunities for others to recognize spiritual warfare as you enjoy the protection coming to your own spiritual identity. The spiritual language of warfare and victory has always been part of how Jesus protects those who love Him. By choosing to pay attention to these warfare signs, you join a long tradition of faithful believers who have learned to recognize spiritual enemies and take authority over attacks against their names and identities.